So where do blacks get group collective oppression? Coming right up. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Common Sense, Logic, and Reason. As y'all know that I coined the phrase group collective oppression. And the reason why I got this is from constantly hearing black people with this we us nonsense. We us, we were enslaved, we were oppressed, we were on ships. Basically it's just simply this idea that black people, we as a whole group, we are affected and impacted by a system. Now, all this is really truly is an avenue, a way for blacks to be victims. Just to be victims. All this is just black victimhood. Again, because they can't tell you how they're being individually oppressed. No black person in America can tell you what they are being held back from doing to you, this country. And I've said many times, y'all know I leave with, there's not a job, there's not an income, there's not a lifestyle, not a career path. Okay, that's not effective to society, that's not a field of study that black people are denied entry to for just simply being black. They know they can't tell you what they're being held back as individuals, but they have been brainwashed and indoctrinated into being victims, and they will find any which way under the sun to be a victim. And thus, the only way they can find victimhood is by way of clinging to a collective. So they can't tell you how they're individually being held back, but then they can cling to a whole collective group mentality. Now, the question is where does this nonsense come from? Where are black people getting this nonsense from? Well, it comes from racism.
When you began to commercialize slavery against blacks, that's when racism started. There was no such thing as racism before that. The other thing, and before I get into my presentation, you got to understand racism also comes from the word race. Race means group. So whenever you hear people talking about now, you cannot prove racism because somebody fired you from a job, they are absolutely right. And the power structure and all the white think tanks in Washington know that. That's why you can no longer prove racism, because racism does not apply to an individual, it applies to a group. And because I discriminate against you, that's individual, that's personal. It's not group-based, and so you can no longer prove group-based discrimination. The second thing about the word race, remember also, which is very important for our discussion today, is the word race means being in competition. See, they didn't pick house, tree, car. They said racism. Race means being where people are competing from here to there. And we are in competition. That's what racism means. Black people must learn how to compete or survive, or not compete and perish.
So that's Dr. Claud Anderson, who is a very prominent person in the black victimhood. He's one of these race hustlers out here for years, has been telling black people to be victims in America, constantly preaching in that black victimhood, and part of the reason, or some of the reason, why so many black people are brainwashed into that nonsense. But if you listen to this video, he says a lot of nonsense. And I'm going to address the foolishness he said in just this clip. First of all, the word race means group. Well, yeah, of course race means group. And like, what does that mean though? It means what? So you say that race equals group? But there are lots of words out there that means group. I mean, the word team is group, or class, a certain class of individuals is a group, or a batch of individuals, or a batch of this or that. It's a group. Okay, the KKK is a group. But this is the point of this argument. Of course, race means group. Then he says that race means being in competition. No. Race is nothing more than a social construct. It's just a way of categorizing people based off of different physical traits such as skin color, hair texture, physical features, physical traits, facial features, and so on and so forth, height, and basically that's all it is, just a way of categorizing human beings. But the thing is that Human beings always categorize. We categorize everything. But there's nothing bad about categorizing. Nothing at all bad about categorizing. So the argument that he's making here is stupid. Now, there's no competition in being black or race or whatever. Everything is a competition, if you want to be honest. I mean, like I say, team sports are competition. Individual sports are competition. Okay? White people are competing with each other. So there's competition everywhere in society, but it's not based off of race. So that's an idiotic point. In other words, like I said, that's the way he can come up with in order to, like I said, stoke the flames of race, stoke the flames of black victimhood, and keep black folks victims. Keep administering that race drug and keep black people addicted to race, or addicted to victimhood. That's all it is. But I say this is how black people are affected by nonsense like this. How black people get brainwashed. I talk about the brainwashed blacks. It's nonsense like this is why there's so many black people in America that are brainwashed by race. Again, all their lives, they grew up hearing this foolishness. And as I said, that the line goes, the old saying is, if you tell a lie big enough, long enough, and loud enough, eventually people will accept it as true. And this is a type of nonsense that a lot of blacks have been told big enough and long enough and loud enough. And in reality, this is his own opinion, because there's nothing that he said that's factual. Matter of fact, I haven't heard Dr. Claud Anderson say much that's very factual. He give a few stats and then he starts giving us his own opinion. And everybody has our own opinion. That's why I don't need to listen to these fools. When people say, such as the guy philosophical, he always has this damn literature. This is the literature that he's talking about. You have literature of race hustlers telling you their own opinion, which I don't need to listen to the Dr. Claud Anderson or Dr. Fraud Anderson, as I call him, because the man is a fraud. I don't need to listen to a fraud. I can come up with my own mind. I can look at the stats, the same stats that he look at, and I can come up with my own opinion. I don't need to listen to his opinion. But anyway, like I said, this is where black people get that group collective nonsense. They're brainwashed into it. And why they just sound like they're a bunch of zombies who are on script all the time. Because they're just repeating what somebody told them. Regardless, group collective oppression is BS. And I don't accept it. And the reason, like I said, the only reason why they do it is because they can't stand on their own and stand on their own victimhood. Because then victimhood is going to fall apart because they're not victims and they can't tell you how they're being oppressed. So, in closing, this is why I never allow group collective oppression. I don't want to hear about what happens to nobody else. Ain't no we, us. Don't include me in that foolishness. I want to hear about you. If you're going to be crying about we, us, then, and you can't tell me how you're being oppressed, then I don't need you telling me how somebody else is being oppressed. I can go to them and let them tell me how they're being oppressed. I want you to tell me how you're being oppressed. Do this, and as I said, black victimhood falls apart. Anyway, y'all, as always, until next time.